Welcome, I'm Nina Griffin and this is the Astrology and Magic channel. Today we'll talk about the lunar eclipse of May 15th, 2022. First, I wanted to say thank you to all of my patrons. I really appreciate all of your support and encouragement. If you're interested in getting early access, and in many cases exclusive access to my astrology and magic videos, you can go to patreon.com/NinaGriffin and become a patron. At the top tier, you can get access to my monthly ebook, which is called Magical Elections, and it teaches you how to make planetary talismans to improve your life, and it teaches you when to do it as well, which is the most important part. The eclipse of May 15th is at 25 degrees Scorpio. It's a full moon eclipse, which means it's a moon-sun opposition. And this means that the sun is at 25 degrees Taurus. Now, the eclipse is ruled by Mars in Pisces, which is actually making a harmonious aspect to the eclipse axis. Mars is making a trine to the moon and a sextile to the sun. So we could read this as disruption, but it's actually disruption that could be favorable for some. It's still Mars, so I don't think it's going to be easy, but it could be disruption that is desired and in some cases actually engineered in order to gain a particular effect or goal. Now, we also note that Neptune conjoins Mars in this chart, and especially then on a collective level, this can indicate mass disasters, poisonings, sometimes shipping disasters, things like that, especially because the eclipse is in a water sign, Scorpio. Now, also Scorpio has to do with poison because it is ruled by the scorpion, a poisonous creature. This is also an earthquake combination, especially because Jupiter is not too far off, although he's in an adjacent sign. In Southern California, this combination of Mars, Neptune, and Jupiter falls right on the fourth house cusp. And this is the cusp that rules everything that's in the earth or under the earth. So obviously it is very active and activated during or before earthquakes. We also note that the Saturn-Uranus square, which is fairly wide at this point, is making a hard aspect to the eclipse itself. All of these factors make this eclipse, I think, quite a bit tougher than the April 30th eclipse, and I think that this eclipse of May 15th will bring more overt conflict and suffering. I think there is a good chance that the eclipse will impact the war in Ukraine as well as Russia itself, since this conflict is strongly configured to Saturn in Aquarius in particular. As you may have seen in my previous videos, Saturn in Aquarius has made some pretty dramatic changes in Russia, which is traditionally ruled by Aquarius. And you'll note that in this case, Saturn almost exactly squares the eclipse axis. So we know that Saturn and the eclipse are going to have a strong relationship, and that this eclipse could well impact Aquarian locations such as Russia. Now, the duration of the eclipse is about 4 hours and 20 minutes from start to finish. So according to traditional rules about eclipse effects, it will continue to be effective on and off for about 4 months and 10 days from the date of the eclipse, which would put us until September 25th, 2022. Now, the timing of eclipse effects is always a question, and remember that the effects of an eclipse can manifest during an extended period following the eclipse. In the case of a lunar eclipse, this is usually counted in months, and so here we're looking at about 4 months. So we could see effects happening during a major transit to the eclipse chart, although sometimes the impact happens right around the time of the eclipse as well. If we follow the astrologer Ptolemy's rules about the timing of the manifestation of the effects, any effects would likely occur within about 6-7 weeks after the eclipse in Southern California, because for this location, the moon is in the 11th or 12th houses. For us, it's the 12th house, which usually puts the effects happening in the first third of the total time after the eclipse. And so again, that puts us at approximately 6 weeks or so. Now, the eclipse will be visible in the Americas, Europe, as well as Africa. So impact most likely occurs in these places, but be aware that eclipses can show their effects even in places where there is no eclipse visibility. We could see impacts in the aquatic realm, shipping, flooding, fish, bodies of water, droughts, or scarcity could all be impacted. According to William Lilly, a 17th century astrologer, eclipses in the third decan of Scorpio show, and I quote, "Many seditions, murders, and all manner of wretchedness succeeds. Mankind is oppressed with an abundance of obnoxious diseases, and these general or widespread." So he's saying that these eclipses tend to bring widespread illness and sedition or revolution, social unrest, if you will. Now, in addition to the places that I just named, Scorpio also traditionally rules North Bavaria in Germany, Norway, Algeria, Morocco, as well as the regions of Catalonia and Valencia in Spain. These areas could also see some effects from the eclipse. I couldn't help but notice that this eclipse conjoins Prince Charles's natal Sun and Queen Elizabeth's natal Saturn. So there are some major changes afoot in the royal family around the time of this eclipse, and I think sooner or later these changes are going to be made public. Again, the effects may not be public until sometime after the eclipse, but what often happens is that the events that set them in motion often will occur closer to the eclipse, but the effects only become visible later. All right, thanks for watching. I'm Nina Griffin, and this is the Astrology and Magic channel.